Hi again and welcome. This is Michigan's AutoTalk podcast, and this is episode number 68. I'm producer Phil Tower. In just a minute, we'll meet the hosts of this here podcast, Al Schwinkendorf and Joh Puhek from Verburg Automotive. We remind you each episode of our podcast is about celebrating the automobile and everything automotive. We're also about helping and supporting you car and truck fanatics across our great state of Michigan, birthplace of the automotive industry. We are here in episode 68. We remind you we're on Facebook, facebook.com/Michigan's Auto Talk, and also want to remind you that you can review our podcast, leave us feedback, rate us, even if we suck. That we would love to hear from you. So that's about that. I am here with, as usual, Al Schwinkendorf, Joh Puhek from Verburg Automotive. Good evening, guys. And we are here really to talk about a couple of things. First of all, for full disclosure, we thought we were going to be talking with Brian Bell from Ford Motor. I think Brian got his days mixed up. Brian is the marketing director. Can you imagine just being the marketing director for one vehicle for Ford? Well, that's what Brian is. Brian is the marketing director for the F-150. They just announced the F-150 Raptor R. This is a Raptor R, the biggest, baddest Raptor that Ford has built. Al, do you have any idea how long they've been making Raptors? It's not been a long time, right?
No, it hasn't been a long time. It's been pretty much the current body style, but I'm going to say probably, 8 years or something like that, back in the, maybe longer than that. But, they started out with like a huge 6-liter naturally aspirated or 6.2, whatever it was. They had a huge V8 in it that pretty much came in heavy trucks and that. And then they went to the Echo Boost because they could make a lot of horsepower out of a twin turbo V6. They sound funky, but they had more power and they had more torque. And now they're going they're going ape here and putting in a GT500 motor. And then, eventually it's going to end up in a Bronco, which then I might have to buy one.
The Dodge already has one, right? They've got a Hellcat Ram truck, right?
Yeah, they have a, I don't know if it's the full boogie Hellcat, but they have a large displacement Hemi V8, a hot rod one, and a pickup truck. Yes, they do.
That's what I thought.
And I will say, I know Chevy's got one as well, but I think for sure Ford, they seem to have been the forerunner, or the front, I should say, not forerunner.
Kind of like if you take Camaro, Mustang, Challenger, it's the Mopars, and the trucks, it's the Ford. They're just always a little bit more.
Yeah.
So as Puhek was saying, this has
got Fox.
Oh yeah, it's got full boogie off-road suspension and everything else. You can buy a plain Jane Ford.
It is a beast. 5.2 liter,
it's a
supercharged V8, 700 horsepower, 640 pounds of torque. Foot-pounds of torque. This is the most powerful engine ever put into an F-150. Apparently, this is the supercharger. They tweaked the supercharger. Al, I know you know people who play around, who build superchargers. There's got to be some special sauce with some computer programming and that to get that kind of horsepower.
Oh, yeah, and it's so different today. You go, I don't know if they are anymore, but it used to be Roush Performance in Detroit was big time working on this kind of stuff with Ford and Ford's SVT unit. And that's, I guess, SVO, Special Vehicle Operations, or whatever they want to call it. But they can do so many insane things right now that we see cars like John's been working on a really, really sweet, like 56 F100. I mean, this thing is beyond gorgeous. It should just be in a museum. That's a hot rod. But for less money, if you could actually get one, go to the dealer and get a truck with more power. If you're building an off-road truck, better suspension, this, that, and everything else, off the showroom with a warranty, and go to the bank and make payments on it. I mean, it's insane. When I was a kid, we'd buy old 6-cylinder pickup trucks and put V8s in them and jack them up and do all this, and they weren't even close to what you can buy from the factory nowadays.
And I'm imagining any kind of a Raptor, you're looking starting what, high 60s, 70s at least, right?
Oh, I don't know. What do you think, John? You got to be like 65, 66 as base as you can get them.
Yeah, around there. And then once you have to get the fancy tires and the, you know, the offset rims and, you know, a couple extra little decals that show everybody you have a Raptor. And then you
people
obviously
go out and
have
modify
to have a
'em.
ginormous. Exactly. Yeah, you have to have a ginormous light bar up front, even though you're not in the Baja race or anything. But, you know, I guess going down a dark road somewhere you need it. But yeah,
Hold the phone.
I
Hold
think
the phone.
65 is minimal.
No, we're not even close.
What do we got?
According to Car and Driver, the 2023 F-150 Raptor R starts at $109,145. It's $27,000 more than the 22 Raptor with the 37-inch tire package, which has a price of $81,705. So every time, and here's the thing, I saw the pictures of this, and I mean, there's no doubt they're cool and they'd be fun to drive around and stuff. But the one that they're showing off, the gray one, the graphics on it and stuff, I think are really ugly. But when you see these guys driving down 28th Street in a Raptor, even if it's the twin turbo V6 one, they drop $90,000 freaking dollars. Can you believe that?
And you know that thing is just a pavement pounder. Give me a break.
Exactly. It goes back and forth to work.
Give me a break.
It's for flex when you go to church on Sunday. It's a Christian Reform thing.
So apparently this is like built like a Mad Max desert, you know, a Baja truck. That's what they originally built it for. Who's going to take this out in the This is a show it off.
Nobody.
You know, nobody's going to take this thing out, which makes me wonder.
If you do that, you should be smacked.
Yeah. So
seriously,
this is somebody who has a lot of money to spend on a pickup truck. By the way, Ford will not start making these. You can order one now. They just announced this on July 18th. You can order one now, and they won't start fulfilling these orders, making the vehicles, the Raptor Rs, until the end of this year, and who knows when you'll get one in 2023. It might take a while, but eventually you'll get one.
Maybe they'll bring the Lightning back, do it in a 2-wheel drive truck. The guys take out to the drag strip and stuff like that. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be cool. All right,
with that engine and everything else. But
so then,
I don't know about $100,000.
Yeah, not for.
I mean, if you're playing around with $100,000, you know, like those. I forget what they're called. I think they're like the chase trucks. I forget what chassis setup
Pre-runners.
They are on, but it's like
They're called pre-runners. Yeah.
If you got $100,000, you could buy one of those, and
You could buy
Again,
use one for
you know,
about
yeah, it might
$40,000
not
and
be
make it
as-
street legal.
yeah, exactly. And then you really want to impress some people? Well, show up to church in one of those things. Are you kidding me? Holy cow! You take
I
your
know, but
Raptor, and I'll just.
But you got to remember, the inside of a Raptor is like a Lincoln. You know, it's all leather.
Yep.
It's all loaded out,
Yeah.
cooled seats, heated seats. I mean, it's the best of everything. But that's more money than a Lightning.
But if you're buying one. Yeah, if you're buying one of those used, though, you know you could take the extra money and then put it towards churching up the inside and getting at it. And I don't know, I just for 100, are you kidding me? That's just
Okay, folks,
That's
this is the deal.
stupid
Buick doesn't think like your average Raptor owner. That's all. They just want to. But here's the
there we
deal:
go.
you don't have to be a car guy. You can just like it. You can go to the dealer. You can write the check, and you can have it, which is insane. I mean,
Yeah.
You talk about there's people out there that customize their vehicles and admit it. 99 other than that yellow truck you're working on. 99% of the stuff is junk. I mean, it's got a bunch of cool parts bolted together, but it's not functional and everything else. This is a factory stock vehicle. You put gas in it, push the button, and drive. You know, it's insane, and it's got a warranty.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's way out of my range.
I would love to. Who's our guy? Your insurance guy, Tim Heil. Can you
Tim
imagine?
Heil, yeah.
Can you imagine what it costs to
you know
insure
what?
this?
You know what? When they do finally make one, there's ways to go in and find like a VIN number. You know, you can kind of fake it and build
Yeah.
one. And I'll talk to my buddies at Ford and get that, and I'll call up Tim and go, here's a VIN number. How much does it cost to insure that thing? That'll be a riot.
Yeah.
It costs more than what I pay for my truck a month, I bet you.
That would be pretty interesting. Okay, we're going to switch to a couple of automotive history tidbits before we wrap up episode 68. I'm really excited because Al told me before we started episode 68, one of those automotive tidbits is Big Daddy Don Garlits, who is 90 years old as of January of this year. He is the godfather of drag racing. He perfected, after he blew up and split one of his old drag cars in two, the Top Fuel dragster, which, Al, you were saying, he basically said, no, we're not going to put the engine in front of me. It's going to be behind me. And that revolutionized drag racing as we know it today, right?
Just Google Don Garlits and you'll see him. He's in a silver fire suit, and the car's broken half, and his helmet's on the blower, the motor, and he lost half his foot. And he just said, we're not doing that. We're putting the engine in the back. And in August of 1964, he was the first dragster to go 200 miles an hour. And it was hilarious because the West Coast, Don Prudhomme and Roland Leong and all those guys like owned drag racing, and there was this guy from Florida, and they just thought he was scum of the earth, you know. And he went to California and kicked their butt regularly, and he had many innovations through the years. Is insane. First with a canopy.
Well, isn't NHRA their trophies? Isn't that his model?
No, it's Wally. It's Wally, the guy who started Wally Parks.
That's right. That's right. Okay, yeah.
Someday it'll be the Donnie. I got to tell you, because if you ever you go down to Florida, stop by Ocala and go to the museum. He's there, unless he's out. He's working on a electric dragster. He wants to have the fastest electric dragster in the world, and he's doing really good at 90. And he had to quit driving Top Fuel cars because of his retinas. The G-forces over the years messed him up so bad that he couldn't see so good. And so NHRA's doctor said, Don, you can't drive anymore. Just absolutely insane. And the guy's there at the museum, and he'll show you around. He'll have everything from his first, 1940 Ford that he took his wife out with on the weekends and street race, to his cars and his competitors' cars and stuff like that. And I mean, that's really drag racing's biggest hero, in my opinion.
He apparently, this is interesting, I found a photo of the Swamp Rat 13. This was the car that broke it apart in 1969 at a Canadian dragster. It was summer of 1969. According to Motor Trend, this was an article they published a couple of years ago, 2016. He apparently restored that dragster, and I'm sure that's in a museum someplace. That probably
it's in his museum in Ocala.
Yeah, that would be. You've been there, right, Al?
Yeah, and he's got a car or two in the Smithsonian too.
He's
is a unique individual.
Wow, so cool. Okay, what else do you have, Al?
Well, in 1922, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang won its first race, and everybody thinks it's what's that guy's name with Mary Tyler Moore?
Dick Van Dyke.
Dick Van Dyke's car from the thing, but there was a serious guy named Count Louis Zabrowski, and he drove his car that he made by himself. I mean, this was 1922, called Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, to victory at the South Sea Speed Carnival in England. It was built by him with the help of his engineer, Clive Gallup, and he had three later cars. He kept redesigning them like Don Garlits, making them better and everything else, and winning all these races over there. It's like Around the World in 80 Days or whatever with Tony Curtis and the old cars. I mean, it's that type of setup. Yep. And he was so impressive back then that, they made a musical, they made a movie and all this other stuff about Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, but that's what he called it, which is funny. 1885, Daimler and... what's his name? Maybach built something. It's kind of funny. It was like a powered horse. You sit like on a saddle, and it kind of had training wheels. And they patented it and called it the world's first motorcycle. And to this day, a lot of purists say that's not so. But they make the big money, and they got away with it. And in 1934, the first All-American Soapbox Derby was run in Dayton, Ohio. And I don't know if you guys know anything about that, and it still goes on today. And what's funny with the media we have today and the ability to learn all these things or what's going around, we don't hear about it like we did 20, 30 years ago, but soapbox derby is a really, really big deal.
Yeah, I remember as a Boy Scout, the Pinewood Derby. Remember those?
Oh,
you
yeah.
build the cars out of balsa wood. You had a certain weight you had to make, and if you knew how to do it right, you'd get that weight down to a T. You would grind those wheels down and you polish them. My dad made me use steel wool, and those things, they put a little WD-40 on the wheels, and
Ooh, it's not supposed to use liquid.
yeah, it did pretty well. It did pretty well. By
You
the
know,
way,
See,
go ahead.
I always remember those and then just being so upset because I did it and my dad was like, yeah, you're on your own, figure it out, do it. And then you get these ones that come in and you're like, there's no way you did this. There's like a bubble top and all this stuff. I'm like, dude, you come on, that's not fair. So
I will
it
tell
is
you
what
that
it is. But yeah, I remember those contests because Sandy always, or Kingsland Hardware always had, the kits and, the test tracks and all that stuff.
Yep.
And I just remember looking at that and be like, man, there's no way that kid did that. How do you do that?
I built my own and finished second for 3 years to a guy whose dad was an automotive engineer. And it pissed me off so bad that when Connor was old enough, I became a Cub Scout leader just so I could take part. So I had a troop. I got taught to take over when it came time to the Pinewood Derby, and the garage had stations, man. We had a lathe for filing down the nails. We had another station you'd go to sand down the wheels and cut the body, and I taught him how to cheat. You make the front end high, so when the peg starts down, you take off before the other guy does. If you take the very front part of the wood and you cut it at a 45, you start moving when the pin goes down instead of the other guys wait until it's all the way down. All these basics. We had scales. We had lead weights that, you drill holes and put it in and all that. And I had like 15 boys, and they all came in, and depending on the amount of work they wanted to put in, when I go, you really got to go home and finish polishing those axles. And the ones that did really well, and the ones that didn't. Connor did really well. Went to states every year. Kicked butt actually, and then they had this. The second year I was in, they had the dads thing to let the dads leave the kids alone and have their own show, like John's talking about. And I was miserable and all that, but I had some really cool looking cars, but I didn't do too well. I didn't follow my own advice.
Okay. Just real quickly, we're going to wrap this up. The Boy Scouts of America official Pinewood Derby car kit is for sale, and if you are now joining to make your own Pinewood Derby car and race it in the backyard or build your own racetrack, or get one at Kingsland True Value Hardware, $13.95 on Amazon. Couple of quick follow-up facts on the Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, Al. You know who wrote the movie? Ian Fleming, James Bond.
Really?
I never knew that.
Well, the thing had wings and it flew, so I can believe that.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Ian Fleming. Secondly, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang's engine was actually taken out of a Zeppelin inflatable dirigible. I never knew that.
I think him and Count Zeppelin were buddies, weren't they?
Yeah,
They were in the military together. I read the book a long time ago, yeah.
Yeah, they were
crazy.
aero-engineered racing cars built by Count Louis Zabrowski in the early 1920s, christened by Fleming and Zabrowski as Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. And they built 6 cars for the film, which was released in 1968. They have most recently sold, in the last 10 years, at auction for around 1.2 million. And there are a few of them out there.
Phil, did you have the Hot Wheels?
I did
Had the plastic red wings you could unfold? We all did. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, one last thing we got to say. Give them our Facebook address, and I think if people want to go out, you're old guys with a grudge, and you want to build a Pinewood Derby, I think we could talk to Scotty Kingsland and rent that track and find a place during the 28th Street Metro Cruise and have come on down, and you run your car and we record your time, and if somebody beats you, you go home and we bring down the next one, and we could have a throwdown. That'd be fun.
I think you may have just come up with a genius idea. And like you said, if Kingsland does still have that test track, you can buy one online. You can buy one online for $400, by the way, if you want to really.
You can. It's mostly in Australia, but you can build a car. You can mail it to them, and on Saturday nights they run them off with all these electronics and everything else. And then if you win, you just keep going and going and going, and then they mail your car back if you want to pay the $50 to get it back. You can do it that way. But I think I could see us somewhere like a D&W in Cascade with the track set up running Pinewood Derby during the cruise. That'd be awesome.
All
you
right.
know what they do at the hot rod places?
Definitely.
They do valve cover races. You take a valve cover and you put steel wheels on it, and they race down a Pinewood Derby track.
I love it. I absolutely love
I've
it.
only seen the belt sander ones.
That's cheating.
In case you missed episode 67, it is up on our Facebook page. And again, Al just mentioned that, facebook.com/Michigan's AutoTalk podcast. Full disclosure, I'm doing this podcast on about an hour of sleep coming back from Alaska at 9 o'clock this morning. So thank you, gentlemen, for making sure it didn't totally suck. And I'm going to try to get some sleep here in the next little bit. If you've never been to Alaska, oh my goodness, it's worth doing. That's all I have to say. Saw some cool cars out there. Some really cool cars. And the last day I was there, I saw a really sweet Ford Ranchero. They apparently, I don't know how cars last out there. I saw a lot of old cars. This Ranchero, it was cherry. It was beautiful. And it looked like it was the guy's regular driver. So
I heard they don't use salt. They just use dirt because it costs so much to have salt hauled up there.
Yeah, that
and in
makes
the winter,
sense.
it's so cold. There's no water. It doesn't rust. It's just an ice cube. And if you just wash it off in the spring, you're good.
Yeah. Yeah, good stuff. All right, that puts the wraps on episode 68 of Michigan's Auto Talk podcast. Until next time, I'm producer Phil Tower.
I'm Al Schwinkendorf, and he's
I'm
John
John
Puhek.
Puhek. Thanks for
He's
listening.
sleeping.
We'll see you guys.